Welcome to another adventure of the Exploring Club. Silly Gooses only.
Start a good trip with some sushi. Everybody likes to sit on a plane with a full belly of sushi.
I mean, I like to eat sushi. Little photography from Philip.
Yeah, thank you.
My inaugural getting a picture with the map as we fly.
You thought it was a picture, it was a video. So how long does it take to get there? Like 6 hours?
6 hours, about 5 hours and 50 minutes, I believe, from Minneapolis, St. Paul.
So as you should, fly to any new country and then get immediately into a spa-like situation.
A very nice spa-like situation. Was a little rainy, but didn't dampen our mood at all. As you can see, there's plenty of people enjoying the very nice geothermal pond and drinking and soaking up the good vibes.
So we did the full ritual, was it 7 things?
I think it was 7 steps, yep.
So obviously this is step 1. And then...
The rest of the steps were mostly done by me.
There
was ice baths, there was multiple things.
Yep, the salt scrub, all sorts of stuff, but it was wonderful. We really liked it instead of the infamous Blue Lagoon. Then we tropsed around Reykjavik, and of course, the highlight of the trip, fly over Iceland.
And a nice beer and pizza.
Yeah, at this point, we were pretty tuckered. Woke up in the morning and grabbed some local coffee. Caramel syrup or iced coffee or anything frou-frou is not available in general in Europe.
No. But,
you don't need
just get a regular espresso or latte and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, you don't need it.
And of course, the infamous horses, which we thought we were going to have to look all over for, and later on realized they were everywhere.
Yeah. I feel like it's, I don't know, Bon Jovi, Bret Michaels, have your pick, but I really like the 90s, hair, rock star hair.
There's something. They lap it up. You have people parking all over sides of the road to go see them, and they just sit there and entertain.
Yeah, they... Majestic. So we did a lot of reading up on them, so you can't import any horses into Iceland. Once they're exported, they can't come back.
Yep, they try to keep
the lines are clean.
Clean, very clean. Then we went to a nice farm-to-table restaurant right down the road, and they had delicious foods.
There was a lot of these options where there's not a lot of towns in between, but there would just be a farm, and they had burgers or they had lunch available, so you just stop and... This is a surprise.
Me doing what's happening here? As we're waiting for the geyser. The geyser that we looked all the way for.
Be careful if you think you know which button is reverse camera and which one is to take a picture. Just be careful, otherwise you will never live it down.
I habitually do it and still do it, so...
Yeah.
It was a beautiful park, and while we waited for the geyser, we got to check out all the different other aspects of the geothermal area. And there's the geyser.
That's wonderful.
It went off, every couple of minutes or something like that? Every
7?
Yeah, and people were like, no, it's going to go off now. No, it's going to go off now. Like, by looking at the water, like it inhales a little bit.
That's a big bubble.
We took, I think, 3 videos of this. The people next to us were like, yeah, it's going to go.
Yeah.
And it finally went, as you'll see. But
yeah.
We saw it multiple times.
Yeah, it was pretty silly. Yeah, this was a really fun, I don't know. There was so much low effort, high impact things to see. Tons of waterfalls that you didn't have to...
More waterfalls than you can shake a stick at.
Yeah.
But we had a day, we might have seen 23 waterfalls in one day, and we were like, oh, we gotta stop. And then by the end, I was like, I don't think we're ever gonna make it to where we're going.
Yeah, I think we gotta make some hard decisions and cut some waterfalls out, yeah. But yeah, there were some obvious things that we'll put our itinerary at the end so you can kind of see what our map and route and the main points that we wanted to see, but we ended up seeing so much more because it's literally just right off the road. There's waterfalls and all sorts of beautiful things to look at.
Gullfoss is one of the first big ones, though.
There we go.
There we doing it again. Gonna be the video. And then this was a old crater from a volcano that we almost missed, and I think she caught it, and we stopped and drove back, and it was really beautiful.
Yeah, it was really cool. The coloring was just epic. The reds and the greens and
And the one-lane bridges, the bane of my existence. I'll say this, I loved everything about Iceland besides the one-lane bridges. They were just a who's gonna die situation.
So wouldn't you say driving in Iceland was fairly easy? It was just very narrow roads. There wasn't a ton of traffic, but it was very narrow.
It was like driving in any Midwest state, honestly.
No shoulder. The roads were in very good condition. But, you'd pass a tour bus or a big camper, and it was like, it gets a little tight.
Yeah.
Tons of one-lane bridges.
And never going over like 60 miles an hour, really. So.
Yeah, but I mean, other than that, it was very easy to get around, very amenable to tourists. I mean, tourism is the huge component of their...
Yeah, I mean, we went around most of the south part of the island, and the whole drive was just super easy, honestly.
Yeah. So I'd say for people trying to dip their toes into international travel, I think Iceland is just very accessible.
Yeah, I mean, if you're from Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Minnesota, any of the Midwest states, it's like going 2 states over. I mean, I really didn't believe it was any different than going to another state besides flying in.
Yeah. Everybody
speaks English. Driving around is super easy. Cards are accepted everywhere. So I think the whole area is really tourist friendly, and I think you just have a boatload of fun there.
Yeah, and it felt like, I mean, every restaurant we went to, it was like you could see that there were just a ton of diversity, a ton of people. It was all tourists. we were in tourist country.
Yeah, all sorts of countries, some Americans, but definitely people from all over the place.
We almost missed this.
Yeah. We were like, why is everybody wearing jackets? It's really not that. It's not raining that much. And everybody's like in these parkas, and they're buying different overcoats, and of course we didn't wear any of that, and we're like, nope, we're gonna go in.
So and that's the crack that we walk through to get into it.
It is just a wet, soppy mess.
But
the shots we got were lucky because
it was very cool though.
But this is really what you see most of the drive. I mean, just kind of the coast, especially the south coast, is just littered with like mountains, volcanoes, and then to your right is usually the ocean.
Yeah, yep, and some pastures, and every once in a while a place where you could eat, or a waterfall.
A lot of waterfalls, all beautiful.
Yeah, this one's it's really hard to understand. I wish we would have taken a video behind us because the parking lot is not even 50 yards behind us, and it's completely flat. I photoshopped all the people out.
Which is necessary. And you can walk above, around. I mean, there's so many ways you can go to and see all the waterfalls. It's just how much time you ultimately have and what you're having at the end of the day. Like I said, this was the day that we traveled to Providence. Another great photography by Philip. But this is the day we went to like 23 different waterfalls, so.
We had to start kind of making some calls. Delicious food, the types of food that are available, just from our experience anyways, ton of options, a ton of like, I think I had lamb a few times.
Yeah.
We had some really delicious fish. They had, what did they have? Rockfish and all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of vegetables. I mean, you can't
kind of really hearty meals, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were to describe it, hearty meals with fish and with lamb.
Yeah.
I mean, but then anything else you want. I mean, you could get a burger. We had pizza.
Yeah.
Really good fish and chips, obviously.
Yeah.
But these are the mossy fields that we kind of ran into and
Yep,
really
just on
loved.
the way. Yep.
Only place we really used the drone, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it stopped working because it was didn't have an update, so I brought it with all the way just for a 30-second clip, which I couldn't. I mean, anyone knows with a drone, you can't necessarily just fly it anywhere, and there were tons of restrictions. Any of the waterfalls, you couldn't fly them. Any of the parks, we couldn't fly it. So I don't think I would have ended up using it a whole ton anyways.
The basalt columns, which is one of your favorites.
Oh, yeah. These suckers, I don't even know why I am so drawn to them, but it's this cool thing that happens when the plates squeeze into each other. I don't know how else to explain it. What's interesting is I thought they were only coastal, but I mean, those were obviously kind of, I mean, you're by the coast, but like not necessarily right by the water. So, but now I'm drawn to them. So any opportunity that we get to seeing basalt columns, I'm in it. Here's a hike I almost died getting to. Just kidding.
It was quite the trek.
There I am, just gonna lay in a hole.
I think it was definitely worth it. Though it wasn't the longest hike in the world. I think it was
just up.
I mean, again, a lot of the waterfalls are relatively easy to get to. So like this one, like is a bigger one they say to go to.
Yeah.
And you're used to just
Walking
being able to
off of
get out of your car and walking like 500 feet, and this one was a couple miles in, but and pretty high up, but it was still very beautiful.
It was. And I don't think he would have gotten me to go except for look at all them basalt columns.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the mecca of basalt columns, so I mean, it was good. Yeah, they're very cool. So we went in April. And I wouldn't say that that is a high tourist
No, I don't think so.
time of year to go. I think that we never really ran into anything being closed. And I mean, we got all of the hotels that we wanted to book. We got in, we got the car that we wanted. We never ran into any issues where something was closed or we didn't get something because of tourism. So I think this was a really good time to travel. We're wearing like light waterproof jackets and maybe sweaters or sweatshirts, but it was over 45, I think, as a high every day.
Yeah, I would say it's like kind of the end of fall weather here in the Midwest.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was very comfortable the whole time.
Yeah.
Really, when we were out looking for Aurora Borealis at night, driving around in the dark, it got a little cold, but with the windows open. But other than that, I mean, I thought it was quite nice.
Yeah, I think waterproofing yourself, just because the whole time we were there was a risk of rain every single day. It didn't end up raining every day. I think we actually lucked out and it only really rained or was a rainy day for 2 days. Otherwise, I mean, even when you're next to a waterfall, it's constantly misting on you. So I kind of feel like the waterproof jacket is something, waterproof boots, hiking tennies or something are important to have with you.
Yeah, it's less about staying warm, more about staying dry. Because it wasn't one of those colds that really gets to you. It was more just the wet. There
were some places that were very windy. So I would say if you are a person that's like overly bothered by wind, where it kind of cuts into you, then I'd say, layers. I think we constantly were taking layers off, but layers on. I think this is the first time I have run into the European continental breakfast situation. So that sandwich was something that they let you make to bring with you because they know that, maybe you're going to be out adventuring and you're not going to have a lunch option and there's no convenience store next to the hotel. So very cool. They, and their continental breakfast, don't even get me started. But most of them do let you make like a meat and cheese sandwich to bring with you. So it's kind of cool.
So we headed off to one of the glacial areas because we were going to go a little ice cave exploring.
Yep.
This is in our, what I would call...
Big old buggy.
Big old buggy that just rocked and rolled, and then we hiked in, that wasn't very long. That must have been a total of an hour hiking in and out.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like literally the end of the season.
Yeah.
So...
I think they said they had one more group coming in and then they were closing the ice cave tours, just safety and all the rest of it. Like, the ice is melting for sure. So they don't let people in there.
Yeah, we saw a significant chunk drop off just where we were walking.
It was right here, actually.
Yeah.
It's like
When we
this
left.
portion.
Yeah.
Because we were standing off to the left there and it fell. And we were like, oh, we were kind of right in that area.
But very fun tours. The tour guide we had was great. He's some guy who comes over here from Italy for the season and then goes back to Italy. I cannot recall his name, but
guys.
Yeah. Guys. Hey guys. Stop being a dumbass, guys.
Yeah.
But no, it was super cool getting in there. Plenty of space for everybody. They allow you to take pictures and videos to your heart's content. And
he takes pictures and videos of you with your own gear, and he comes up with really fun like photo setups, which you will see. Yeah, he did wonderful. He was as much of a tour guide as he was a photographer, I think.
Yeah.
Because he knows, I mean, this is a moment you want to be able to look back at and relive. So, yeah, pretty epic. I mean, the color, you see it in video and you go, that's really crazy. But in real life, it's even crazier.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, I think everybody there loved it. And it's definitely worth the trek in and everything like that. And honestly, I don't even believe the price was extraordinarily expensive.
No.
So I would definitely recommend it. And you can go on longer tours and deeper tours. Just depends on like if you're someone who can climb, wants to go down in an ice cave. But we chose probably the simplest option, I would assume.
Yep. Easiest, most accessible. Yeah. I'd say this was, I mean, basalt columns aside, this is, I mean, you can see basalt columns in other, which you can see ice caves, but this was probably the highlight of the whole trip for me was the ice cave tour.
Me drinking some water. Pure and clean.
Yes.
Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
So fresh.
But yeah, this was off in the distance. I mean, you can't see it, and maybe we show it in here, but his associate is literally hiking that.
There he is.
Right there. The glacier to see like if it's still safe and to check for the caves. And he just like yells at him and is like, Jesus. Like,
Yeah.
pretty wild career choice.
Yeah. Just checking the ice today.
And of course, you got to get lobster roll wherever you can get lobster rolls because everybody loves lobster. Then right across another one-lane bridge as we head out, which again, the magical one-lane bridge is there is just this agreement between you and anybody else heading onto the bridge that one of you is going and one of you is not. And this agreement is not made, and the bridges are super long, so it is just literally it's a game. It's a free-for-all, and we never ran into any issues with it, but I can imagine there have been issues.
Yeah, it's a weird deal.
But again, infrastructurally, I mean, beautiful.
Oh my goodness,
and new bridges all over the place. I mean, the roadways and everything. Just for whatever reason, they decide in a lot of places to do one-way bridges, and I don't quite know why.
The cost of two is just not going to do it.
Everywhere we stayed was gorgeous. I mean, I think we loved every place we stayed in.
We did a good mix of like hotel. And like that, this place is more of like a tiny cabin and just a mix of things. So.
Mostly about the ambiance of the area, I guess. Yeah. But everywhere we stayed was just, I mean, magical. But yeah, waking up to this and then going out to this place, which was unfortunately closed, so we could shoot from this distance. Apparently, you get further. Whether we were going to go further or not is up for debate. Yeah, a little bit of the pickle with it being spring is with the warming. I think the reason they had that part closed was due to it being just an absolute sloppy mess. So you have all these tourists coming in, and they just want to make sure that the pathways are suffice when it does become heavy, tourist season. So this is basalt column heyday as well. And the famous Black Sand Beach, which has this whole title thing about not being able to go certain areas during certain times, and of course. You're like, yeah, we'll listen to that. And then, like, we didn't listen to it, or we didn't know we didn't listen to it and went to an area that we weren't supposed to go to. But, like, you're looking at it and you're like, well, we could do that. But, like, it does have, I'm assuming it has serious tides that can pull you out. So, I mean, use with caution. But, I mean, we were kind of following. I would say we're the only people who did it. One of like 4 or 5.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would say in any place like that, you think you know. So this is the little path that we took around the rocks that was a little more dangerous. You know, tides go up and...
Yeah, this was the area where we're not supposed to be in during what was the yellow, I believe.
Yeah.
But us and this gentleman decided, well, we could get this shot real quick and then head out.
Yeah.
This was the windiest area of the trip.
Yeah. We were way up high.
But got great shots of the black sand beach area.
Yep.
I mean, just probably the best shots most of the trip. And then we got to see Arch with a Hole, which has not the best marketing from a name perspective, but is the most honest marketing and is very beautiful.
You at least know what you're going to go see.
It's right there in the name. And it was very cold. We were dancing to stay warm.
But yeah, absolutely beautiful. I mean, this area had so many really great viewpoints. Yeah, it's just incredibly beautiful. And as you can see, there's a lot of arches with holes in them in the distance. So it's not significantly special in its own. But
and this is down the hill, which we decided that I got to take a video, I think, while she drove.
Yeah.
Which
I'm like, I think we need to show how chaotic this switchback
windy
situation is. Ooh, that even gets me
yeah,
goosebumps.
I'll be honest. When I took it, I was like, this is cool to see how it goes down, but it's also not making me feel super amazing.
Yeah,
but,
tons of switchbacks to get up there.
Again, very easy. And again, another farm to table place.
So this was literally just a roadside farm that also had a restaurant attached to it. I think this was the hotel that we splurged. I feel like when we plan our trips, it's not that we don't look for really great accommodations, but we do kind of grant ourselves like a little splurge for at least one night. And
there were hot tubs next to the accommodations and next to a river, so I was totally sold.
Yeah, so these are geo-fed hot tubs, 2 of them. And then, of course, moving water, mountains. You can see this specific town is just full of geo activity. So they had a geo plant. What was the thing in the middle of the town?
Yeah, they had a geothermal plant, but we
we
were also hiking up through the sulfur areas, and I don't know if that's in the video, but it was pretty cool to check out. I mean, I've seen a lot of mud pots and stuff before, but it was
very active in this area. Yeah, very cool. Delicious food. We had that pizza right downtown and did a little bit of exploring around the outside of the hotel. So that's where we actually have breakfast the next morning, that kind of terrarium kind of space. And there was a wild kitty.
Kitty loved the show. But that's kind of the area where the sulfur was, and right up above the river. And of course we went and hiked and saw it and got closer than we should.
Yeah.
But
I think your theory is if the rope is down, that means we can go through it. And I think it's just that someone took the rope down.
Yeah. But this was also a really good area to get a good shot of our hotel, and where it's along the riverside. And
yeah, just beautiful.
The town itself, all the towns, I mean, none are large. Reykjavik itself I would not consider a large area.
No.
So especially along the south coast, I won't speak for the north coast, but the south coast, I mean, these are towns that are 15,000 or under, mostly under, probably around the 3,000 to 5,000. So they're not overly populated. Again, very easy to maneuver. The roadway signs, again, point the direction to wherever you are going. I mean, literally, you could do it without Google Maps, even though I know we're all attached to Google Maps these days. But
it was very
I know there's
easy.
times we were not using it, or I was not using it. So But yeah, these sulfur ponds were great. Definitely stink when you get up real close to them. But I would say from a town perspective, I mean, really, I've been in areas that are closer to sulfur areas and really didn't have the rotten egg smell in the town at all.
No.
For whatever reason, the wind pushed it off aside from the town and where we were staying. So might have lucked out there.
Yeah, it was really cool. I don't think I had really seen this before. So I was pretty enamored.
Yeah.
With the little boiling pots. Of course, we had to get in the tubby again at night.
Oh, the hot tub
Any
experience.
chance you could. Yeah, so there's a lower...
One of us is more of a hot tubber than the other one.
I am a little...
By one of us is more, that's just...
Yeah, well, the lower one was much hotter, and the theory was the longer we stayed in, then, the better it would be, and I, at some point, was convinced my toenails were going to boil off, so we had to get out. So the last day before we left, we, of course, drove back to Reykjavik and stopped for a delicious, hearty lunch before we got back on the plane to head home.
Yeah, just in the middle of town. Again, not hard to get around. The airport is 40-minute drive from Reykjavik. It's outside of the town. It's actually closer to a couple other towns. But again, super easy to get to. Just have to time it. These no tractor signs were everywhere, which were hilarious.
They were
so
like,
just every time I was screaming no tractors.
Yeah. What in your history has happened where the tractors are just no more?
But again, the airport's super easy. The flights themselves were
Iceland
great.
Air is absolutely wonderful to fly with. I could not say anything bad about them. They did a wonderful job. And again, I think this is a really wonderful nod to, if you have not done any international travel, over big water. This was my first big trip, and I think it's a very easy, accessible. You're not jumping into a completely different culture. You're not jumping into...
And you get to see Greenland, which, as most people may not know, is mostly full of ice.
It's the icy one.
And you kind of wonder. So we flew over the areas we thought that people actually live in, and still, didn't look like people lived there, but
they evidently do.
But yeah, I would say a great trip, and I would say continue to check back with the Exploring Club, and remember, Silly Gooses only.